All right, for split leg lifts, we're gonna perform this one on the ground. And ideally, we wanna use a yoga block, but if you have dumbbells or books or really anything, works in place of this yoga block. The way we're gonna set up is we're gonna get ourselves into a nice wide seated position. What's important about this seated position is that I'm able to maintain a relatively straight back. So I don't wanna go so wide that I have to start compensating through my lower back by rounding. So I do want to keep myself modest and try and keep that back nice and upright. And I'll talk more about that in a second. You're going to take your yoga block or whatever object you have. You're going to place it outside of whatever side you're going to start with. Hands can be placed behind your body just for added support. And then what we're going to do is lift our leg up and over, tapping on the other side of that block, and then bringing it back to that starting position. What you'll feel, and you may even cramp on your very first rep, is we're working our hip flexor muscles, which are the muscles that are responsible for pulling our knees in towards our chest. These muscles oftentimes get really tight for how much sitting we do, and we don't really train these muscles a lot, so a lot of times they are pretty combative when you go to do exercises like these. Ways that we can make this exercise a little bit easier in the beginning is bringing those legs in a little bit closer together. So the closer my legs are, the easier this exercise gets. At a certain point, if I try to really push how wide I can go, I really can't even lift my leg up and over because there's no range of motion left to go over the block. So make sure you're picking a somewhat modest but challenging split to start out with. When we tap on the other side of that block, I like to think about tapping down to an eggshell that we don't want to crack. So we don't want to just lift up and then smash the leg on the other side of that block. We are trying to gain better control of these muscles. So start with a low object that you have to get over and work on just gently touching, resting on the starting side. But once you go to lift your leg up and over, don't let it rest until you get back to that starting position. Now, as you get better with this exercise, you can not let the leg rest at any point, and that is definitely going to up the ante as far as challenging these muscles. Couple of tips with this exercise. First, if I'm really struggling to keep my back from wanting to flex forward, the easiest solution is just backing yourself up to a wall so that my back has really no other choice but to stay straight. So no matter how much I want to fight leaning backwards or rounding forward, I'm just leaning into the wall, which makes it a little bit simpler to work these hip flexors back and forth. As I get better and better, or if I'm just looking for a challenge, the nice thing about using a yoga block is it has all these different settings on it, right? As far as height. So as I get better, I can work on improving my range of motion over this block. Not quite sure. Oh, I got it. But as we work these hip flexors more and more, try to make sure that you're keeping that posture as tall as you can.